I'll be very honest with you guys. I've spent the last day or two completely flummoxed as to how to begin this video. The content is relevant and it's things that people definitely need to hear. But if you could put a headline on it, I guess it would just simply be this: the criminals that occupy the federal government in Washington, D.C. have absolutely no interest in obeying any laws. It's just that simple. And it applies across the board. There's a story out there about this big military dividend, and there's details about it that people are ignoring. In this video, we're going to cover that, and another story as well that is actually relevant to something that happened in this country way back in 1776. Folks, there's a day coming when we're going to wish we had a robot army instead of human beings. Because the human beings right now that are being brought into our military are not the right people. I know that everybody thinks that, gosh, somebody signs up and they go to boot camp and they go and they make it through and they graduate and all of a sudden they're super honorable and decent and good and right. Used to be that way. Not today. Not today. There's something going on I think it's going to stun a lot of you. But 1776, day after Christmas, I'm sure many of you are aware of this story. George Washington crosses the Delaware River and surprises a group of Hessian mercenaries at Trenton and takes the city. The Hessians had seized Trenton and were notorious for getting paid, to use modern vernacular. A lot of them hadn't seen actual paychecks from the British who had hired them, so they decided to take recompense in whatever they could, whether it was young women or if it was, the food out of the mouths of children or whatever. That's what mercenaries do. What if I told you right now that our military is basically mercenaries? They're being paid to do what they do and bribed to do what they do. Now, real quick, before we get into this, as always, God bless. Pray for everyone, folks. We're going to need it, but myself especially. Thank you, everyone who's joined us at Patreon. It's making the difference. There would be no YouTube channel, no Patreon channel, without the folks who have decided, you know what? We're going to keep the Florida Monkey going. 4 levels over there. Whatever God puts on your heart. Tons of content. Just put up a brand new one today. And goes back years and years and years, talking about all sorts of different psychological operations, tactics, and techniques, primarily used by the military, the media, alphabet agencies, to keep you from thinking. Simple as that. They need you feeling things. Like when I say that, for example, the modern military is acting a lot more like Hessians for hire than they are an actual patriotic military. I'm sure that probably makes people feel a certain way. And that's the goal of PSYOPs. That's the goal of PSYOPs. Now, let's get right to it. Why are we using military assets to steal the oil from another nation? Is that nation attempting to invade this nation? No. Some have said, well, there's drugs. What does the oil being shipped have to do with the drugs? We've seen the overkill with the Hellfire missiles against the little, tiny speedboats and the civilians on board. Basically, U.S. military doing law enforcement, but without the rules. No day in court. Just assassination. Just assassinating people and seizing things. The entire world is unanimous in this, that this is high seas piracy that the U.S. government is engaging in right now. It's theft, just like what a mercenary would do. Warrior dividend is on the way to troops. What if I told you the money had been stolen from you? Warrior dividend, $1,776 on its way to all 1.45 million service members. Well, when you do the math, it comes out to $2,575,200,000. Okay? Problem is, that money had been allocated The money had been allocated to repair housing across the military. And that's why it's non-taxable. They're still classifying it as that. It's money that Congress had approved for one thing to go and be put toward fixing up barracks and housing that has been put there for people that is falling down and dilapidated and horrible living. Now, instead of doing that, they're just handing checks to everybody, whether they're in military housing or not. That's theft. Congress appropriates where the money goes, not the president. But it gets even better. Tell me, folks, when you hear the details of this, could there possibly be any room for abuse here? More troops may soon get access to expanded food options. Now, the long and the short of it is this. All of you out there in the military, you remember the little card? You go to the chow hall, usually it was just your military ID. You go there, sign a little piece of paper. You'd go through the chow line. You get your meal, you sit down, have your meal, and you'd go. Well, guess what? Now the U.S. military, no matter what time of day it is going to be able to use a little card issued by the federal government, and they can get a breakfast, a lunch, and a dinner all in one serving from places like Subway. Where else? Troops are complaining about the lack of tastiness of the meals. And so they did a test, and they're going to roll this out. Burger King, Starbucks, Qdoba, Freshens. You see what they're going to be able to do? The Feed initiative, soldiers were allowed to purchase multiple meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner in a single visit, and then bag it up and take it home, using separate transactions for each. And I'm sure all those places will get, reimbursed. Folks, this is a giant scam waiting to happen. Besides, the last thing our military needs, the military was complaining about portion sizes. Our giant fat-ass military. There's a story, I didn't bring it up. The average female right now is 170 pounds. I was 166 when I was in the military. 166 pounds. As were a lot of us. We're not now. But the average female is 170 pounds. Now, I'm not saying that, you should go pick on women or men or whatever. But the idea that they need more food, more options for food, and be able to buy 3 meals in one crack, not at a chow hall, not at a chow hall, but at some fast food restaurant, using government benefits that are paid for by the American taxpayer. This is some serious Hessian stuff here, folks. And the crowning glory on this, let's see if I can find it here. ICE hires immigrant bounty hunters from for-profit prison company GEO Group. Now the U.S. government is taking your tax dollars and hiring mercenaries to go hunt down illegals. Private mercenaries. ICE is subcontracting. None of this is supposed to happen, but of course, what this boils down to is this. People, for them to have an opinion on something, need to first assess their feelings about it. This is the hallmark. This is the basis. This is the crux of all psyops. You cannot have people stopping, sitting down, or talking with friends in a rational... Now the Bible says, let's come reason together. You can't have that. You cannot have that. You have to have people separated and operating emotionally only. Shaping perceptions, driving success. U.S. Army, 37 Foxtrot, used to be 97 Echo, PsyOps specialist. Folks, it's not about changing people's minds. You know, the whole hearts and minds thing? No. It's all about hearts. There may have been a time when the military tried to change people's minds, not anymore. It's all about feelings. Because I know what everybody out there is feeling. It's like, why are you picking on the U.S. military? It gets even better. Folks, I want you to think about something for a minute. The job of a U.S. soldier, to even get out of basic training, is to be able to show that he can pick up a weapon and he can aim it downrange at something that looks a whole hell of a lot like another human being and pull the trigger and make their insides their outsides. Because that's what those weapons do. To cranialize people. To open them up like a giant bag of blood. That is the job of every Marine, guardsman, airman, soldier, all of them. To kill the enemy. U.S. military, to stop shooting pigs and goats for medic training because it's cruel. First of all, wild boar are a pest species. And they are very aggressive, nasty, dirty little animals. And they're destructive. And there's no chance of them dying out. They're like rabbits. They reproduce like a ridiculous rate. But they can be used for something good. The military had been using them to train on how to sew up a wound on something that's bleeding. Well, now, apparently that's too cruel. Think about this for a minute. Do you think for 1 minute, George Washington said, okay, now when we get over there, folks, we get over there, and the Hessians are there, don't be cruel. I mean, don't be mean, don't be cruel. I mean, if they throw up their hands and say, oh, please don't shoot me, don't shoot them. Have we lost our minds? Have we lost our minds? Folks, if the U.S. military thinks it's too cruel to shoot the boar, if it's too cruel to shoot a boar, folks, we're toast. We are absolutely cooked right now. Honest to God. If we're going to be training troops to go into Venezuela, guess what? The Venezuelans don't have any compunction whatsoever about shooting a pig and cooking it for dinner. And teaching their kids to shoot a pig. And not feel one thing about the damn pig. This is a real story. The prohibition on live fire training that includes animals as part of this year's defense bill, but all other use of animals for wartime training, the ban by and this is so unbelievably embarrassing here. Vern Buchanan of Florida, focusing on animal rights issues. The military is now worried about the rights of a pig. Of efforts to end outdated and inhumane practices. Really? What the hell do they think war is? If they can't shoot pigs, they won't shoot humans. If they can't shoot pigs, they won't shoot humans. So, folks, I'm sorry. Maybe it's just from where I come from. I grew up hunting. And, we didn't torture animals, but we didn't empathize with them. Now, if you're going to have a use for the animal, use the animal. Have the animal have a purpose. We ate what we hunted. If you're not going to eat it, don't shoot it. But in this particular case with the military, that, if it was up to me, there would be some part of basic training that included, okay, Billy Badass, you want to graduate basic training? You want to be a Billy Badass Marine? You want to be a soldier? Okay, we're going to see how you react when you actually shoot something that's going to die in front of your face. Something that might fight back before it dies. If you can't do that, you are not ready for combat. If you can't deal with an angry pig because you shot it and then shoot it again until it stops coming, you are not soldier material. And yeah, I said it. Psychologist Stanley Milgram found that 80% of the population do not have the psychological or moral resources to defy an authority's order, no matter how illegitimate the order is. Therefore, only 20% have critical thinking capacity. This explains quite a lot. Guys, I'm telling you right now, I could go on, maybe I shouldn't. There are things that happen in this world that are just the results of cruelty. And sometimes things just happen, that are accidents. Like, if you are out driving at night and some little furry thing runs out in front of you and you can't do much about it. I don't feel good about it. I don't feel bad about it. It's like, well, that's what happens. Things happen like that. But when you're a soldier, it's a completely different thing. I mean, these Hessians were doing what they were doing for money, not for principle, not for purpose. They didn't give a rat's ass about the King of England. They didn't give a rat's ass about the Bill of Rights. They didn't give a rat's ass about a new way of governing that wasn't royalty. The Hessians didn't give a shit. The Hessians wanted the young girls. There's stories from, this, that they could hear them from across the river. The parties that were going on. There's no morality in war. War is war. And if we're not ready, folks, maybe a lot more need to sign up at the Patreon channel. Right now, we're more worried about getting the soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines that are in fatter. We are more worried about them having more food options. They're not already too fat. Oh, no. And there's another story about the low rate of about how the U.S. military underreported basically how stupid the soldiers, sailors that are coming in are. Their initial tests versus their preparatory tests, that the numbers were unbelievably abysmal. So they need to be dumber. They need to be fatter. They need to be less cruel. They need more money, big old fat paychecks, and bonuses. And not be able to shoot an animal. And not be able to shoot an animal. It's just ridiculous. Like I said, robot army. At least you can program a robot army. And if you've got a malfunctioning one, you get it the hell out of there, you fix it or you scrap it, and you replace it next batter up. And I'll leave it there, I guess. God bless. Pray for each other. Pray for me. I'll pray for you. Lift each other up. Like, share, subscribe. I'll see you guys next time.